Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of More or Less. Today's guest is Sergio, a rising pop Latino star integrating both English and Spanish musical influences. You may know him from his boy band in real life, but now Sergio is gaining success in his own lane as a solo artist. On More or Less, Sergio shares thoughtful anecdotes around values, religion, and working hard. More or less. On More or Less, we are all about feeling good and looking good. So we're excited to tell you about our sponsor, Mind Plus Beauty. Season 4 is sponsored by the unique and innovative products of Mind Plus Beauty, whose science-based unisex approach to wellness and skincare will help you do just that. These dual-action facial oils are designed to help you take care of yourself and get more of what you need: sleep, energy, calm, focus, or uplift, while also being great for your skin. For my friends that gua sha or use a jade roller, Mind Plus Beauty's simple-to-use products are the way to go. They work across most skin types to protect the skin, reduce inflammation, and provide an all-natural approach to wellness. So, whether it's a deeper, more restful night's sleep, an energy boost for busy days, a calmer state of mind, increased concentration, or a more positive mood, Mind Plus Beauty's products are designed to help you look and feel your best all day, every day. So if, like us, you like to both look good and feel good, visit mindplusbeauty.com to learn more. That's beauty.com. Sergio,
Jess,
welcome to More or Less.
thank you. Thanks for having me.
On our show, we have our guests introduce themselves, so feel free
fire.
to
All
give
right.
a version
Do I have
of
to
that.
look in any
You
camera?
can look wherever you want.
Hello, camera, and everybody that is watching. My name is Sergio. I'm a pop Latino artist, and currently based in Miami. Have a couple songs that have been rolling out, and it's gonna be an exciting year. I'm excited. Super
Incredible.
pumped. Yeah.
And in this moment, how are you feeling, more or less?
More or less, healthy in every aspect, which is good.
That's great.
Mentally, physically, spiritually, like everything. Yeah. And that's been like the past couple months, which is good. Like I've been prioritizing my mental health more than anything the last year, but I think I can really feel it. You know, all the work that I've been putting in, I feel it now, which is awesome.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need more of, and what do you need less of?
More of. I think I've been working on this. I think I need more patience, and it's funny because it's like I would find and I mean like in life, you know, not just like, oh my god, like hurry up or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think especially in the music industry, you know, you're kind of just you're on go mode like nonstop, and you're always finding things to do and areas to grow in. And you know, you kind of do all that for a big moment, a big break or something. And I try to not compare myself to other people's like progress, because I used to do that a lot, and that's what would affect my like patience, I guess. And I just realized one day, it hit me. I was like, you know what? Not everybody's road is the same. And yeah, ever since then, you know, that's where I started to really just kind of focus on myself. Because I also used to just worry too much about other people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think patience. That's been the main thing I've been working on just with my life in general, with my music career. And so I guess I need more of that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do we need
definitely.
less of?
Less
Impatience?
No, less pressure. Less pressure on myself, I think. I'm a workaholic.
Okay.
Like I'm always working on something, whether it's my music or my vocals or writing, as we were just talking,
Mm-hmm.
fitness. There's so many things that I'm trying to like, you know, continue growing in, and because I've always been an artist and a person just like focusing on the craft more than anything. But I've also like found that I've put a lot of pressure on myself because I set standards, healthy standards, but you know, you kind of get lost in the sauce a bit. So yeah, I think a little bit of less pressure for sure.
I gotta tell you, pressure is a very common answer when I
Yeah?
ask what do you need less of. It must be the artist and inner creative that there just needs to
Yeah.
be less of that. But
100%.
less about other people.
Mhm.
Let's talk about your journey. So for those that may not be familiar with your music, walk me
Mhm.
through the very beginning. How did you first what made you decide that you wanted to enter this crazy industry?
A One Direction video. I'm not even joking.
Really?
Yeah. a One Direction video. But I mean, I guess what led to that was a soccer injury. So I grew up playing soccer and singing at church my whole entire life since I was 6 years old, literally since I could remember. And ever since then, it's been like kind of how I live my life now. Ever since I was a kid, I was basically working. You know, during the week, it would be school, rehearsals, and soccer practices. And then the weekends were soccer games, and I'd sing like every single mass with my cousins. And it was cool. We had our little band, and we were all just like little kids. We were just watching some videos yesterday. We were we were talking about the Naked Brothers band, and I was like, yeah, I was like, yo, it's like that was like a real life Naked Brothers band, except at church. So we did that like our whole entire lives. And I'm very glad that my parents kept us busy. And then at one point, I saw more success in soccer at a very, very early age. I was like 10. Just started to get invited to certain select camps to potentially play for the youth national team. And I remember it wasn't like, oh, he's super good. It was more like I knew that if I put in the work, I was going to get there because of how, certain coaches and ID camps were reaching out to me. And I would start to get up early on school days and go for runs and train on my own. So I left music a little bit to the side. And then I got injured in one of the most important games of my like youth soccer career. And during that, I was like, well, let's get back into music. And that's where I picked it up. By the time I started playing again, I was just kind of like, I was done with it. I was like, I can't stop thinking about music, which was crazy because a lot of people were like, you knew me as like the soccer guy. And
How old were you at the time?
I was 14.
Okay.
I was really little.
Well, that's like pivotal age though.
Yeah, for any athlete, it like 14 is like super important for like their development. And I left that and I told my parents, I was like, I want to start something from scratch. Cause I took like once I started to think about it, I thought about that decision for like a while, for like a month, because I mean, there were just a lot of opportunities that were coming my way and potential school scholarships for college and all these things. So I was just like, I can't just throw all that away. And same thing as in soccer, when I started to kind of put myself in like in the perspective of an artist, I was like, I can get there. I don't know how. Like I sometimes go back. We were talking about this yesterday. I'm a big leap of faith guy. I've taken too many leaps of faith in life. But I was just like, I know that I'm gonna do absolutely everything I can do to be an artist and be discovered. That was my goal. I didn't know the way there. We had no connections. I had no experience, no fans, like nothing. But I knew that I was just gonna put all the work in. And for 2 years straight, I picked up the guitar because I knew that was gonna allow me to then play gigs anywhere. So then I started doing every single thing at school.
And you had never
event.
played the guitar before?
I locked myself in my room that whole summer at 15,
So self-taught.
14. Yeah, just on YouTube. I was like, how to play anything. Like the first song I learned was Mistletoe by Justin Bieber because it was super easy. Yeah. So yeah, and then one thing led to another. I made a deal with my mom because I was like, I don't want to go to college. I want to be an artist, and I know that I need to focus on my craft. She's like, all right, if you get something before you end high school, let's pursue that. If not, we're going to go to school and focus on music because that's a thing. I was like, yeah, true. All right. And then I just worked my butt off, and I was busking, doing all the gigs, putting videos on YouTube every single week, always looking for ways to continue improving the quality of it, nonstop for 2 years. And on top of school, on top of tutoring, on top of all these things, and then started auditioning for shows, like TV shows, because I knew that I just needed exposure at one point.
And you were in California?
I was in California.
Okay.
I grew up, born and raised in the Bay Area, in
Okay.
Redwood City specifically. And yeah, and I was just getting rejected by all these. I did AGT, The Voice, American, like all these shows, and some Spanish ones as well.
So what does that look like? Do you send like a self-tape?
Self-tapes, and then they invite you sometimes, which are, if you get invited, it's always a good look. And I would always get into a couple rounds, and I was like, I'm so close. And I was just like, at one point I did get bummed out, but I was like, keep going. And then I just got an email to be on this TV show to make a boy band. And I was like, all right, this is like the perfect fit. Obviously, still had to go through the audition process and everything, but once they flew me out and we went through the producers' auditions and hearing the feedback, I was like, I think we got something. And then that summer was when it was 2017. I flew. I had to leave like 2 weeks before my junior year ended. Took all my finals early. Everybody at school was like, "Why do you keep leaving?" I was like, "Be cool." I was
Because you
like,
couldn't say anything at the time,
I
right?
couldn't say anything. Like the only people I knew were like a handful of teachers, and obviously the director of the whole school and everything. And they were all super nice, so and helped me out a lot, supported me in everything. They were like, whatever we got to do to, make sure you get all your schoolwork done. Let's do it. I was like, bet.
What was your social circle at the time? Were you still riding with soccer kids
No, I completely isolated myself from.
just to learn music?
Yeah, yeah. And I had a girlfriend at the time, like all of high school. I think that also helped me a lot. Like being in that relationship helped me stay focused. She supported me a lot because it's not easy to just throw yourself out there, especially as a teenager. When
Right.
that's, I feel like, the era in your life where everybody is just so like, oh, why are you singing? Why are you this, that? But it was cool, and she helped me out a lot. And yeah, I got all the finals done, left on, it was like June of 2017, and then I never went back home after that. The rest was history. I was on the show, we won, instantly got signed, and just started touring. We had a show within 3 days after winning, and it was just like my world completely just flipped upside down. Like I went back home for the first time in over almost like 2 months. Instantly, when I am anywhere in public, people are like, wow, what's up? And my whole family, we're all trying to process it. We're like, what? And that was my life for 2-3 years straight. I was 16. I was little.
Wow.
Yeah.
Had you ever considered being in a band prior to that?
No, never. But it was such a coincidence that the video that made me decide on doing that, because I vividly remember, I was like, I told you, I was thinking about music, all this stuff, pros, cons, the is it a realistic thing, all these things. And I was watching all these different documentaries and videos, Justin Timberlake, Ed Sheeran, Justin Bieber, Shawn Mendes, all these guys. And I remember I watched a video of One Direction running out on stage in San Siro. It was a stadium. And it started, like the shot was just the most surreal thing. And I got goosebumps. I was just like, damn, that's what I want to do. And ever since day one, it's never been anything in between. It's never been like, I want to make a living off of music and I'll be good, or I just want to perform. Like it's always been like, that's the level I want to get to. And yeah, that's kind of how it all started. And I got my experience through the band. It was so fun. So fun. I learned so much about myself. That was the first time I really kind of just went through anything mentally, because growing up I had a really good upbringing with my family and any activities that I was doing. So as fun as it was also mentally pretty tough at times.
Yeah, where was your head at during
It was
all that?
all
Because again, you're
over.
16.
I was
at the
16,
time.
and honestly, like I look at video, like I can't like I can't fully play a flashback in my head. Normally now I can, but it's because life changed so fast. It was within a month.
Yeah.
And it's just like I talk to, my team about it, friends about it, and it's just something you can't really comprehend unless you're in it. And it was cool. I think.
And you had bandmates going.
And I had bandmates.
You.
We were all around similar age. Everybody was in their teens. We had a good team with us at the time. In the beginning with the label as well. Everybody was they helped us transition from being on the TV show into the real music industry in a great way by just saying, all right, here's your schedule for the next year. It was crazy. We won the show and they were like, here are, you're going to do these performances. We're going to go to these award shows. You guys have press during these weeks. We're going to be home maybe 3 days out of all of this. I had to be with my parents for the first 2 years because I was a minor, which helped a lot too.
And they were on board with that.
Oh yeah, first they were like, we have to. But also it was like, for legal reasons.
Yeah.
Me and another one of the guys needed our parents until we turned 18. And yeah, I mean, all that was such a good learning experience, so fun. I don't know what it would have been like if it was just me. So even though I wasn't dreaming of being in a band, it definitely was the right decision. And I think I learned everything that I needed to learn, from how the music industry works to how I should be taking care of myself, to now continue into my solo career.
So you said you had your whole schedule planned out a year in
Yeah.
advance.
Yeah.
What does that feel like when you
Sick.
do you
Yeah.
did you ever have time to just sit with that of like not knowing where you were going to be the next week?
No. And I think that's kind of like, that lifestyle is so fast paced.
Right.
It's like, for those first 2 years or year and a half, we weren't in one city for more than 5 days, like, ever. Even if it was like Christmas or whatever, we'd go home for like 3 days and then right back to rehearsals, because we start off with the first single of the year in February, but we have to prepare all these videos and promo and everything in January. And it was like, I mean, it's what I've always dreamed of.
Yeah.
But I didn't ever have time to sit back and think about, because I was also going through a lot mentally. It was the first time I was away from a lot of people, even though I was with my best friends and my brothers. I didn't know how to open up to people, because I never had to do that my whole life. And that started to affect me a lot. But that's where I started writing. I was just talking to a couple of friends about that. I was like, that's where my songwriting started. It was just like, I didn't know how to express myself to people. I didn't feel comfortable doing it. And I was like, I should probably write a song. And that's how it all started. Mm-hmm.
Where was your identity at that point? Because you'd been working your ass off to just learn music yourself, and then you're thrown into a collective.
Mm-hmm.
So and you're a teenager on top of all that.
Yeah, I didn't have one, in all honesty. Like, I'll watch videos now, or even look at photos, and I mean, I was always like the bubbly, happy, like, if you look at the group, and you know how boy bands are. Every guy has like a role. I was just like the happy, nice guy. And I was, and because I was really trying to soak in as much as I could, because I was living my absolute dream. But I think part of that was also because I didn't know, like you said, my identity. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I was also going through, relationship stuff, and just being away from family and all that was starting to take over my head. And I didn't really know who I was. And that's why I think the group ending at the time that it ended was the best thing that could have happened for me, and honestly for all the rest of the guys as well, because we got to a point where we never had time to sit back and be on the same page as a group of where we want to go sonically, where we see our everything. And I think now, the group ended right before COVID. So then after that, I'm home. So now I'm home for the first time in 3 years, from 16 to 19, turning 20. Then I spent a whole year and a half, almost 2, back at home, which was the best thing that could have happened to me. Which was crazy, because prior to that, all I knew was, since 14 years old, just go. I'd get out of school, do homework in between classes, and get back home and right back to it. And then we'd go to auditions, this, that, like I said. And then I got in the show. We won. Boom, I was gone. And go. And it was like nonstop from 14 to 19. So I think being home, reconnecting with my family, reconnecting with myself, my faith, all of that helped me so much. And from 20 to 22, I found myself. I was finally comfortable in myself, which was like the best thing that could have happened, because that completely changed my perspective of where I want my career to go, for sure.
Because I was going to ask you that. I mean, it sounds like you said, you're a completely work first driven person. Yeah. And when COVID happened, we were all forced to stop. I was very similar in the fact that I would burn myself out.
Yeah.
But it was work, and I loved it, and I was living my life.
Totally.
But I can only imagine you're 19, where your peers are probably looking at colleges and where to go next. And did you find yourself asking, like, what do I want to do next?
Yeah, I always had an idea of like where I'm at now in terms of the bilingual artist, pop, everything that we have set on the foundation in terms of the sound, the type of message I'm trying to put out, the visuals that we want to do, all these things. I've always had that idea. but I think I didn't know how to like execute it, on my own. And so surrounding myself or figuring out, realizing that my family and my really, really close friends and loved ones are the only ones that matter helped me so much, because living at home, I was fully independent. It was me, my friends, and my fam doing everything for 2 years.
It was probably exactly how it was pre-band.
Yeah.
Like just back to you yourself.
Yeah.
And figuring it out.
Exactly. And that helped me, because then the people, I'm not saying that people in the band didn't want to help us. They did 100%. And they put so much time and effort and love into all of it. And I've built lifelong relationships with everyone we've worked with. But there was just something else about having somebody that's like truly, truly passionate, that like loves you just as a person. For a bit, my team was my family, my brother, my parents, my friend group was helping me out, all this. And life has continued to evolve, and now I'm working with an amazing mutuals, amazing management team. And we've always talked about it as a family business, and it feels just like when I was working with my fam. So it's like it was the easiest transition to start working with them, and having people that truly believe in your vision and see everything that you want to do is number one to help you execute that. And it's been awesome. We've really taken our time with like creating the foundation of where we see my career as an artist, but like all of us, as a team in the next like 2-3 years, 4 years. I know where I want to be musically for the next 5 years, which is cool.
Nice.
But yeah, it's been awesome to work with my closest friends, for sure.
And earlier you mentioned that you've been in a really healthy headspace.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the steps that you've taken to achieve that?
We believe people become the best versions of themselves when their minds and body are in the right place at the right time. Do you ever feel like our health needs to be scheduled into our day? Our morning coffee, our supplements, our skincare? We're limited on the products that help us maintain a balanced lifestyle in a healthy, easy, and convenient way. Our friends at Neuro did exactly that by putting nutrients that enhance your health and wellness into something intrinsically convenient, affordable, and portable: Gum and Mints. Formulated with B vitamins and natural caffeine, Energy and Focus provides the mental endurance necessary to stay focused on your goals. If you're looking for a steady state of mind, Neuro's Calm and Clarity products use vitamin D3 to optimize composure in the moments we need it most. For those that know me, I've been hyping up Neuro for quite some time, and I'm thrilled to partner with them for another season of More or Less. Neuro is always by your side when you need it. Take my word for it and head to getneuro.com now.
Earlier you mentioned that you've been in a really healthy headspace.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the steps that you've taken to achieve that?
I think I've always grown up in church. That's where I discovered my love for music, and my family's also ever since day one, my godfather and my parents, grandparents, we've always been very, I think our faith is what has like kept us close, and I don't know, I've always felt very connected with me personally. Like I believe in God and everything. So I've always felt very connected at such a young age, but I think that kind of lost itself with all the work that I've been doing since I was even before 14. Like I told you, I've been working my whole life,
it's a
basically.
balance.
So and during COVID, I built myself this morning routine of just I dedicate like 2 hours of just, reading, reflecting, praying, all of that. And it really, and I think it hit so much different that when I was 20, because I had, then started to experience life. And so I found lots of peace in it. And ever since then, like I've really tried to not let that go. No matter how early I have to be up. I can have a call time of 8 a.m. I'll be up at 5 to get like my 30 minutes in of everything that I got to do, to get my mind right, my heart, all that stuff, get my workout in. Because even that, during my workouts every single morning, like I really try to just focus on making the mental and physical health better, and then get the day going. So my faith for me is like, number one.
Number one.
Yeah, 100%.
So what does that look like a day in the life? So you're in New York, you're traveling right now. What does your morning routine look like when you're on the road?
It's wake up. So I'll give you today, for example.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, today I actually didn't get a chance to work out just because I was supposed to do laundry, and this guy literally took up all 3 dryers, and I was waiting, and that then bled into my workout time and all that. But let's say I was working out, right? Because that's typically what I do. I'll set an alarm. Like today, we had to leave the house at 11:30. So I also just wake up so early, like hella early for no
morning
reason.
person.
Yeah,
okay.
For no reason. I do think it's in our blood though, because my parents or my mom and her side of the family, they wake up at like 4 a.m. I'm just like, damn. But so I'll wake up while everyone's still asleep. I have like 20 to 30 minutes of just praying, and reading the scripture of the day, reflecting on that a little bit, and then I will brush my teeth, do all that bathroom stuff, put the work outfit on, drink some coffee, listen to music. One, to get inspired to work out, but also just because every time I listen to music, I try to learn from it too, for my personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll work out. Workouts consist of cardio and lifting. And then after that, hop in the shower, change, get ready, head out the door. And yeah, that's typically my morning routine. It's like 3 hours or something. And it's helped a lot. I went through like a trial and error during COVID. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to try doing this first thing I wake up. Oh, I didn't like that. Well, how about this? Oh, that was cool, but that was too long. Or this and that and all these things. So that's why COVID, as everybody says, it was a curse but a blessing, you know. And I try to keep that schedule, that routine as consistent as possible, because it's just, I have to get my mind right before doing anything, because I try to really bring the passion out in everything that I do, and I try to stay as present as possible, and doing all that for my mind every single morning is what's helped me to be present every single day. And it's like, it sounds so funny to say like, oh yeah, you got to be present, and who knows how many people actually practice that. A lot of people probably do, but I've taken it to like the absolute extreme of like, if it could be middle of the day, if I find myself stressing about something for the future or yesterday or whatever, I like will tell myself like, what am I doing right now? Why am I here? You know, I'm blessed with everything that I have right now. My family, my team, my fans right now, my music, everything is going great, and try to, you know, relieve some stress like that.
That is incredibly inspiring to hear, because you seem very type A, and that you're a workaholic.
Mm-hmm.
And normally people with those personality traits are thinking 10 steps ahead, 20 steps ahead, next week, next month, next year. Just like you said, you had your year, it used to be planned out a year in advance. But the practice of being present and being in the moment can be incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're trying to master that is really impressive.
Thank you. No, that means a lot. And that, you know, that's where the patience comes in as well. You know, I remind myself, be patient. And yes, I do think 10 steps ahead. I mean, I'm currently thinking 3 years from now. But then what lets me stay focused on this is reminding me that I can't get there unless I do X, Y, Z, all those things.
Totally.
And that's why I'm really practicing my patience and just being present, because then that'll also help me if I achieve these tiny goals that I set for myself. You know, the progress, it happens. It's gonna be happening, and you know, sometimes I'll work towards something and that opportunity that I really wanted didn't come, but it's like, all right, I still made all this progress, so let's keep going. And that's where practicing patience and being present has really helped me a lot.
And you're also giving yourself permission to reflect, which not everyone can do.
Yeah. And I used to not let myself mess up either. I used to, like, if something would happen that like if I would mess up in, I don't know, a performance, or I would make somebody unhappy because I did something wrong or whatever, I would like beat myself up for it, and it was so bad. And that's also part of like, I was always in my head for a while during the band, and that's like comes back to what I told you, like what I told you in terms of I was always so like happy. It is like if you go back and see videos, like I'm always with the biggest smile on my face, but it was also because it was just like I'm not trying to think of anything that's happening, you know.
Yeah, you were just masking.
But
Interesting.
yeah,
I think so often we just put on a brave face, and for you that was also work. I mean, it was fun, but it was work.
Yeah.
And we just chalk it up with we've clocked in, we do what we got to do, and then we go home and deal with all the emotions and real life problems per se.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm very happy with where I'm at right now, and I know that life is up and down constantly. I mean, even sounds like my life is perfect right now. It's not, right? But I think, you know, resetting every single day has helped a lot with a consistent what am I trying to say? It's like a constant growth mindset.
Have you noticed if there's a day where you're not able to hit your regimen, like your routine in the morning, that you show up different?
I don't. I'll definitely feel a little off. I was just telling Dom this morning. I was like, I didn't get my workout.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. If you didn't work out this morning.
Yeah, but and yeah, sometimes I'll have to wake up so early. For example, like I just came back from Cleveland and I had to be up at 4. And, you know, sometimes, you know, won't have time to pray and all these things, but I'll always adjust. I try to adjust as quick as possible. And yeah, I mean, it's not like if I don't do my morning routine, I'm going to be like, oh, grumpy dude, you know.
But you're able to adapt.
Yeah, able to adapt. And I know that, you know, sometimes life just gets in the way, and tomorrow, like we were saying right now, tomorrow's a new day. We'll get back to it, and yeah, just keep going like that.
And being able to adapt, and we were talking earlier before recording about having plan B, plan C, plan D is so essential to surviving this crazy industry.
100%.
And I think if you're able to have backup plans like that, it has to just be like, okay, this didn't work out, on to the next.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just it. Also, everything that I practice with my faith and just with my mentality, it's I learned that is what will help me once, you know, all of this gets to another crazy level again. Because back in the boy band days, I didn't do anything that I'm doing now. Well, I did, but it was like a little different because I was going through a lot.
If you could go back in time, what would you say to 14-year-old you, or even 16-year-old you, once they got into the band?
I would say, I'm proud of you. Keep going, definitely, because I think for a bit I also like, and not that I wanted to be like, look at me, but I felt very unseen for a bit, and that was also affecting me. And I kind of forgot about all of this work that I did prior to that, and that's what got me there. And yeah, just like, proud of you, keep going, because that's like my only thing. And that's how I try to, like, when I reconnect with friends or family or whatever, like I always try to talk to them about, because I know that for me, I wish I would have heard that more as a, you know, younger. That's what I always talk about with friends and cousins and everybody. I'm like, all right, so like, what are you working on? Oh, sick. No matter what it is, because any job is fire. You got your first job at Target? Sick. Cool. How long are you going to be there? How you liking it? You don't like it? All right, so what should we do? Like, what do you think you want to do? You're trying to figure it out, be at home for a bit? Cool. And all these things, like, proud of you, all these things. So I try to put that energy out a lot, because I think if I were to like be talking to my younger self, that's what I'd be talking about.
And I definitely think there's truth in talking to yourself how you would talk to other people, and that's something I'm definitely working on, but it matters. Because it shows up in how you show up to other people.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the now. So you're feeling pretty good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Healthy, happy, present. Everybody in the fam is doing great. The team is doing great. And now I'm working on an upcoming EP. I've been locked in the studio for the past since like November, the first trip that we took to LA. And even when I'm not in sessions, I'm still, like I told you, trying to soak in as much as I can from different artists. And
who are you listening to right now?
Right now, I'm still currently listening to Fade. He's a reggaeton artist. And it's just because his lyricism is so good and his production elements are so good. And I feel like his personality shows in his visuals, in his music, in the way he delivers certain lyrics. And that's what I want to do. Like, I want to craft my lane so specific to me that, you know, he starts, like, now he's creating trends. Now I hear his type of flows and the way he talks about stuff in other artists. And, like, that's cool. Because it's also, like, shows that you're doing something to the music industry.
It's
like,
influential, yeah.
I don't want to just, yes, I want to put my music out and stuff, but I want it to also inspire others. And I'm working a lot on that, listening to Fade. I gotta start listening to more music in English. I've been like in this whole Latin space for the past 3 years, and especially living in Miami, since that's all you hear. But it's cool because I didn't listen to reggaeton or hip hop or anything too much back at home. I've always been a pop guy.
Okay.
So it's been cool. I've been learning a lot from that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like a lot of artists are trying to almost get rid of genres and just be who you are.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a lot on this show.
Yeah.
But it's just funny to hear you say that because I feel like it's a recurring thing now. Everyone's like, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want.
Mm-hmm.
And if people like it, great. But I like it.
Yeah. And that's what the music industry needs. I think for a bit, there was an era where it was like pop music did have its genre. You know, you had to sound a specific way. You had to talk about specific things. But now you see all these different artists that are massive, and you see labels signing these acts that are, every single person is so unique. And I love that music is becoming that.
It's refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally refreshing.
Yeah.
So life is about patience, but
Yes.
Are you feeling eager and antsy to get new music out?
Totally, 100%. And we try to show fans the new music as much as possible. Like,
Just some teasers here and
yeah,
there.
yeah. Because it's also scary putting yourself out there, and every artist says that, but it's because it's so true. Like that. My songs are like my diary. Like, literally.
It's yours, and then it becomes the world.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm super excited to put this music out. Also because it's just, we've been receiving great feedback from fans, from music industry people, from everyone, from the songs that we have released this year so far, which, you know, I've been focusing a lot on keeping everything bilingual. For a bit, I did just Spanish, and it didn't feel completely me, even though I thought it did for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm doing Spanish and English, mixing it up. Spanglish, as I like to say.
Yeah, and you're growing too. So why not switch it up?
Yeah, and once I started doing that, the lyrics and the concepts and everything started to get more vulnerable. And it just started to feel a lot more, the music just started to really sound like me. Like, if you know me on a personal level and you listen to a song of mine, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's Sergio. But now my goal is to have people that don't know me to listen to my music and be like, oh yeah, that's Sergio. Even just with like a track, no music, no lyrics. So that's what we're working towards.
Amazing. I love this independence that is radiating off of you right now. I love that, especially knowing now your entire story and where you came from. It's very inspiring, and I'm sure people listening are feeling a little bit extra boost, a little pep in their step listening to this.
Hopefully.
For sure. Well, Sergio, thank you for coming by the pod. This was fantastic.
No, this was awesome.
And I'm wishing you continued success and kicking ass in your mental health.
Yep.
Keeping those habits good, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to More or Less with Jess. To learn more about our podcast, head to moreorlesswithjess.com or follow us on Instagram at moreorlesswithjess. Here at More or Less, we talk a lot about affirmations and the power of positivity. So we're excited to talk to you about our sponsor, Notes to Self Socks. At Notes to Self, they know that words can make all the difference, so they put affirmations where your brain can see them each and every day, right on your toes. Notes to Self's comfy, marathon-tested socks are made right here in the USA in a variety of colors and sizes for you and all your friends. So if you want to walk a mile in our uplifting footsteps, go to notes2self.com today to order your very own daily dose of positivity.